Hey, what's going on, good people? This your boy FF Clay, back with another video. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff for the algorithm. Definitely appreciate the feedback so that I can gather research on if this is effective or not, and what I'm trying to, just trying to get insight on changes that I can implement, things you guys may want to hear, and whatnot. So, like I said, do all the good stuff, all the good stuff that the YouTubers say. But I wanted to jump on real quick and share an insight that I had got, something that I had noticed within myself, and just really inquiring within myself. And originally, not this quote, but a quote had came back to me that I thought was by Jim Rohn, but it was actually by Zig Ziglar. And then this popped up. So I'm like, well, this is good. And this sums up perfectly what it is that I want to express. But I'm also going to go over the one by Zig Ziglar as well. But this one says, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. And what really led me to this is that I noticed within myself that I would get initial flashes of insight or excitement about, things that I need to do or things that I want to do. Whether that inspiration or motivation comes from something you hear, something or somebody you've seen, or just wells up from within us. I believe a lot of times we get the initial flash of motivation to get us started towards something. Like, for instance, today is January 31st. And so, everybody go through the whole New Year ritual of, New Year resolutions. Personally, I quit doing it years ago. No shade, no shame to anybody who still does it. But for instance, a lot of people crossing over from the threshold of December 31st going into January 1st make a lot of resolutions or rash vows of things that they genuinely would like to see change or things that they would like to do. But I forgot what the statistics say, but I believe by the 22nd day, all motivation has left, and a lot of people fall off the bandwagon. I'm sure plenty more fall off much sooner, but I believe by day 22, it's a wrap. And it's because motivation is not sustainable. I've noticed it within myself. We get it, and it may sustain us for a short term, a short time. Some people have stronger willpower, and it may last longer in some, but overall, we are not meant to just be sustained by motivation alone. It's not sustainable, especially if it is not congruent with habits and programs that we already have installed within our subconscious mind. That's where the resistance comes. And so you notice that once you set out to do or change something for the better, initially you are met with resistance. And traditionally, we've called it warfare, spiritual warfare, the devil, the enemy, whatever, what have you. But a lot of times, I believe that it was in ignorance and it was misguided. I'm not saying that we don't have opposing forces that are against us, but 9.5 times out of 10, the resistance is coming from within. If everything that is good is within, then everything on the opposite end of the spectrum is within us as well. And so we are met with resistance because what it is that we are setting out to do is not in alignment or congruent with how we have been used to doing things. And like I always say, the subconscious and the conscious mind, the conscious mind is the greatest security system in the world, and it's just doing its job. It perceives anything new as a foreign invader or an enemy, or an imposter. It sees it as a threat to how things have always been done. And so that's a good thing. It's doing its job, even to our detriment. So what it is that we need to learn how to reprogram ourselves, learn how it is that we are wired, how we work, and then use it and leverage it for our benefit and not against us. But it sees any change that is not in alignment with the programs that's been running, even if it's for our better, even for our good. It sees it as an intruder. And so the first thing that is going to do is to set off the alarm. It's going to activate the defense mechanism. And a lot of times that results in self-sabotage for us. And so we don't understand why. And it's because we have to reprogram ourselves, and that is a process. And so that's a lot of things. You can get motivation initially, but if you don't stick with it long enough for it to become habit, then you are going to see limited to no results. And so they say it takes as short as 21 to 30 days, upwards to 90 days to develop new habits. And so a lot of people, the vast majority, just don't have the patience to stick with something long enough for it to stick. We know that repetition is the mother of learning. I think Greg Braden and even Joe Dispenza lets us know that information plus emotion, elevated emotions over a prolonged period of time is what develops new habits. And so what it is that we have the intention, what we set out to do, be or have or accomplish, and we have the elevated emotion, but we don't have the sustained repetition. We don't sustain it long enough for it to become part of our habitual nature. And essentially what it is that we have to develop new habits in order to develop new habits to support what it is that we are setting out to accomplish. Eventually, these super big words, getting my TI on expeditiously. But no, eventually what it is that we want to get to the point to where we want to develop habits to where they are not only second but first nature, kind of like brushing your teeth or getting up in the morning, using the bathroom, washing your face, and going through your morning protocol that you do before you get the day started. You pretty much have it on autopilot. So outside of, a few outlier circumstances, maybe depression, maybe sickness, maybe trauma, very few things, where you just don't feel like doing it. And a lot of times, even when we don't feel like doing it, it's still on autopilot. So you still get up, still brush your teeth, still have to use the bathroom, you still wash your face. You may get your morning cup of coffee or whatever it is that you do habitually. That's the point we want to get to, where we develop new habits. It's like software. We want to install it into our hardware systems. And that takes time and it takes repetition. And so that means we have to show up and do the things that we don't feel like doing every day, day in and day out, until they become automatic. And then that's when life takes on it takes us to another dimension, because once they become automated, you no longer have to consciously think about them. They take on a life of their own. And so then that frees up the mental bandwidth for us to go and wash, rinse, and repeat the process all over again. But it frees up that mind space that was previously occupied by you consciously having to do this over and over and over and over. It frees up that mind space to focus on other things. But until we get to that point, we have to do what we have to do. And that means rain, shine, sleet, snow, what have you. Just like as far as getting up and going to work, you don't always feel like doing it. Most times you don't, but you are driven by something that's bigger than you, whether it be obligation, debt, urgency, whatever, what have you, habit. You get up and you, day in and day out, we get up and we do the things and we go the places that we don't want to go and do the things that we don't want to do, because at first we were driven and compelled, but now they're just a matter of habit. So we want to get to that point with everything. And so this really struck a chord and hit home when it says motivation gets you started, habit is what keeps you going. Because you got to think about it. When we think about subconscious, we think about something that lies beneath the surface, and they are automated and they are habitual. And so again, like I said, we have programs that are running beneath the surface that run on autopilot and don't like sudden changes. So that's why it can be very difficult when we are trying to institute changes, because it is counterculture to what we have been doing. And so we have to, again, employ repetition and to the point to where it is transmitted into habit. And then that's when life really takes off. But this is the original quote that I was looking for that led me to the one that you just seen on my screen, where it says that people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. And that is by Zig Ziglar. And that was the one that initially came to me. It was just like, motivation doesn't last. For me, it can come and go. I have intense periods of motivation, and then most days I have little to no motivation. And I was thinking like, well, what is wrong with me? I just can't get it together. And it's not necessarily that something is wrong with us. It's just, like I said, it's internal programming. And so there is a clash of the new and the old within us. And so we have to be intentional, and we have to be conscious, and we have to be dedicated consciously. We have to be aware. We have to be intentional, and we have to really have a. I know a lot of times when we set out on stuff, we are thinking about either the pleasure or the benefits, or we need a short-term result. And though we do get results immediately, sometimes that is not the norm in life, and so we got to think more for the long haul and the long term. And we got to think that it may not feel good right now, or it may not even seem like I'm deriving short-term benefit from it. But I got to think for the long haul. And it's like, once you get to a point to where it becomes automatic, then you can just set it and forget it. You don't have to do it. So however long it takes for it to get to that point, just know that it is worthwhile, and that is a lifetime investment. And so that's definitely what keeps me going. And I didn't come here to become a preacher, but it definitely, if there are a few scripture examples I want to throw in real quick. So I guess this is like a short exhortation. And this is also this is from a book that I have been reading called The One. And actually, I'm going to be doing my next video about this book, or a concept in this book. And matter of fact, this very concept of which I'm about to read from. But it says that visualizing a goal being achieved will bring inspiration, new ideas, and the energy or excitement required to manifest the outcome. It is at this stage that we consider the principle of sacrifice, as we will need to put this newfound enthusiasm, the fuel required to manifest the goal, into action. Step three of the manifestation process. And basically what he was saying is that we are energy. And so we get infused with energy, which is in the form of motivation or enthusiasm or passion or inspiration. But it's not sustained if we don't take that energy and transmute it into action that is congruent with that energy. And so that's why a lot of times it wanes, because we keep it up for a short period of time, but then our automatic programs kick back in that are contrary to the newfound inspiration that we want. And so our programs kick in. And so the infusion of energy that we had that can propel us into the new winds up dying out and taking a back seat into the old order of things, because it's automatic or it's a program. And so what he's saying is that we take that new infusion or energy that comes, and we transmute it, which is a sacrifice, because initially at the beginning it's not always easy. So it definitely is a sacrifice to continue, like I said, doing the same thing day in and day out, showing up when you don't feel like it, until the thing becomes a matter of habit, and then you don't have to deal with it anymore. It's a set and forget it. It's running in the background. It's software and our hardware, and it's a part of your life. It's not something that you have to think about consciously doing anymore. But until that point, we have to do the work. But what is it? Okay, yeah. So this is from Hebrews 12:11. I think it's the Passion Translation. It says, "Now all discipline seems to be painful at the time, yet later it will produce a transformation of character, bringing a harvest of righteousness and peace to those who yield it." And so that's a prime example of what I was saying, is saying the discipline, it seems painful or it seems inconvenient at the time, but we got to think down the line, and not on down the line just years from now, but just even the fruit and results that it will yield 30 days from now, 90 days from now, 180 days from now, 6 months, not even the whole year. I believe that intense focus, we see the meme floating around, or the, quote graphics floating around where, 6 years of 6 months of just putting your head down, of intense focus can put you 5 years ahead in life. And I believe that, I believe it, whether you toggle the numbers, give or take. However, basically, we think that it takes a long time to see results. And so I think also it reminds me of the saying, I don't know who said it, where they said that we overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And so, again, give or take, toggle between the numbers. What that means is that I think that we try to go all in, and we try to get major results in a short amount of time, and then we also psych ourselves out on the other end of the spectrum by thinking that it takes a long time to see major results. And I think it is somewhere there in the middle. The other scripture I have is 1 Corinthians 9:24 and 27. He says that, isn't it obvious that all runners on the racetrack keep on running to win, but only one receives the victor's prize? Yet each one of you must run the race to be victorious. A true athlete will be disciplined in every respect, practicing constant self-control in order to win a wreath that quickly withers. But we run our race to win a victor's crown that will last forever. For that reason, I don't run just for exercise or box like one throwing aimless punches, but I train like a champion athlete. I subdue my body and get it under my control. And he says so that after preaching the good news to others, I won't myself be disqualified. But we can insert whatever goal, whatever objective, whatever it is that we want to obtain. We have to be disciplined in every respect. And he says that we have to practice constant self-control in order to win a wreath that quickly withers. So in order to attain what it is that we want to attain, he says we run to win a race. Victor's crown will last forever. For that reason, I don't just run. He said, but I train like a champion athlete. I subdue my body. And we have to rediscipline our mind, our will, our emotions, and our body to do what it is that we want it to do rather than what it wants to do, because it's so used to running the show that we have to change the paradigm, like I always say, to live from the inside out rather than how we've been living, which is from the inside, outside in. So we have to know that we are not this body, which is an avatar. We're not even the brain, but we are the spirit, or the soul, or the consciousness, or awareness. We are the energy. We are the invisible essence that inhabits this body and animates it. So we have to live from that paradigm, and we have to live from the inside out. So we know that the avatar, this body, is a tool. The mind, or the brain, is the control mechanism, or the computer of it. And so we are the one behind that, telling it what to do and giving it instructions, and not the other way around. And the last scripture that I want to touch on is Hebrews 12. It says that Hebrews 12:12, actually. It says, no, oh man, I'm off. This is Hebrews 6:12. I don't know if I said that before, or maybe, but it says that, so don't allow your hearts to grow dull or lose your enthusiasm, but follow the example of those who fully receive what God has promised because of their strong faith and patient endurance. And what that strong faith reminds me of is the initial enthusiasm, the initial passion, the initial excitement or motivation that we have, but that quickly wanes because we don't mix that strong faith or that inspiration with patient endurance. And that's not saying that we have to position ourselves to wait 50 or 100 years, but I think that we have to give ourselves a little bit more time than we give it ourselves initially, whether it's out of compulsion, urgency, impatience, or what have you. I think that we should give ourselves more time than we are prepared to in the beginning in order to fully see things through, knowing that being fully convinced and persuaded that we will see results. I think Galatians 6:9 tells us that we will reap if we faint not. And so I think that I know actually that we have to mix strong faith and patient endurance. The two work together. They are not mutually exclusive, but they're cohesive and they go together. So again, I hope that you guys derive some value from this. I hope it wasn't too preachy. I hope that I was able to articulate it to some degree of effectiveness. Again, if you derived any value, like, share, comment, subscribe. And until next time, peace.